fragile sheet of paper, yet it holds the power to change the entire world. The US dollar, an invisible force that can shake the global economy in an instant. Every day, $500 million are created in secrecy, and have you ever wondered how they are produced and make their way into the world? The journey begins in vast fields of cotton and flax, where fibers that seem ordinary carry the mission of becoming national currency. Soon after, they move straight into modern factories, where enormous machines operate silently in the shadows. Materials are guarded like national secrets, and every printed detail must achieve absolute precision. Today, let's join Agriculture Insight to explore the fascinating journey behind each dollar, where the power of nature combines with cutting-edge machinery to create one of the world's most powerful currencies. What makes the US dollar truly different isn't just its global status, but the extraordinary durability hidden within it. Instead of using cotton paper, polymer, or cotton polyester blends like most countries, the US uses a unique mix of 75% cotton and 25% linen, a proprietary material that makes the dollar resistant to wrinkling, tearing, and capable of lasting for decades. The $100 bill alone has an average lifespan of up to 23 years, outlasting even a Toyota Corolla. Valuable as it is, the dollar is essentially a mobile bacteria hub, dirtier than a toilet seat. Each bill can harbor over 3,000 types of microorganisms, from skin oils and dead cells to flu viruses. Many people have wondered, why doesn't the US government simply print more money to eliminate poverty? In reality, unlimited money printing is the fastest path to economic chaos. Several countries have tried and failed, as their currencies collapsed in value, triggering extreme inflation, where even a cart full of cash, weighing hundreds of kilograms, couldn't buy a single loaf of bread. Do you know what truly gives a dollar its value compared to an ordinary piece of paper or cloth? It's not the ink, nor the imagery, it's the design. A sophisticated security architecture embedded in every tiny detail. Before any bill comes into existence, its journey begins with a sketch created by the most skilled engravers at the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing, B. Every element, the presidential portrait, the phrase "In God We Trust," geometric patterns, or the blank space for a watermark, is designed as a layer of security. These experts are bound by lifetime confidentiality, even after retirement, because revealing a single detail could provide counterfeiters with a critical loophole. Once the sketch is finalized, it is transformed into an ultra-high-resolution laser engraving, ensuring that each denomination has a completely unique set of identifiers. But design is only half the story. The rest begins in the cotton fields of the southern United States. Over 2/3 of a US dollar structure is made from cotton, a special fiber that forms a steel frame giving the bill strength, durability, and near-tear resistance. To achieve this quality, the US doesn't use ordinary cotton. They grow specialty cotton in southern states like Texas, Mississippi, and Georgia, where the hot, humid climate produces long, pure white fibers far stronger than standard textile cotton. During harvest, high-capacity machines collect more than 2,000 kilograms of cotton per hour, but only about 10 to 12% meets the standard for currency production. The bales are then sent to processing plants, where the entire production line operates almost entirely automatically. Machines remove plastic wrapping and feed the cotton into the system. Rotating shafts with comb-like teeth fluff the fibers, removing dry leaves, small stems, and dirt. Next, compressed air and vibration mechanisms clean fine dust before the gin separates the seeds, keeping only the purest layer of fiber. While the textile industry allows up to 5% impurities, cotton for currency can contain no more than 1%. Even a tiny piece of leaf the size of a pinhead can cause the system to reject an entire 200 kilograms bale. Everything must be perfectly clean before being sent to the paper mill. To increase durability and resistance to twisting, the U.S. also adds linen fibers. Most of the linen for U.S. currency is imported from France and Belgium, where centuries-old flax fields produce long, fine, and exceptionally uniform fibers. The flax is harvested using specialized machines that pull the entire plant from the ground, rather than cutting it, preserving the full fiber length, a key factor in a bill's strength. Bundles nearly 1 meter long are laid in parallel on the fields to air dry naturally for several weeks. Once the fibers reach the ideal ripeness, machines roll them into large bales weighing around 300 kilograms. From there, the flax undergoes a sophisticated processing routine to extract the fibers perfect for currency paper. In the fields, it is left to rot naturally for 2 to 4 weeks, a form of biological soaking where bacteria and natural yeast break down the plant's pulp, separating fibers without breaking them. An interesting fact, the retting process must be monitored daily. Extending it by just 48 hours beyond the ideal can weaken the fibers by 20 to 30%, enough for them to be rejected for currency production. Finally, the flax passes through crushing and combing machines, which remove the woody core. The resulting high-quality fibers are pressed into bales and sent to the paper mill. When the raw cotton and flax bales arrive at the mill, the journey to create the world's most secretive paper officially begins. The white fibers are cleaned with steam, chopped, and blended in large vats like a thin porridge, where ultra-fine security fibers and invisible industrial DNA are mixed in, forming a base that no counterfeit printer can replicate. The mixture is then poured onto conveyor belts, pressed thin, dried, and rolled into large sheets of paper. Each sheet already contains watermarks, security threads, and extremely precise technical features. The paper is then dried, pressed, cut into large rolls, and sent to the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing, BEP. This is a proprietary security paper, never sold on the open market, and only Crane Currency in Massachusetts is authorized to produce it under contract with the U.S. government. The paper is ready, but a dollar truly begins to exist only when the steel engraving is created. In the BEP's engraving room, artisans sit before gleaming steel plates, using pantograph pens to carve every detail, so meticulously that some spend 3 weeks perfecting a single strand of hair. From Franklin's forehead wrinkles to the tiniest decorative patterns, every line must be absolutely precise. Once completed, the master plate is chrome-plated to withstand tons of printing pressure. Even a deviation smaller than a hair can result in its immediate destruction. But one engraving alone is not enough. From the master, the steel plate enters the serography system, where every detail is copied so precisely that the human eye cannot distinguish it. The plate is then coated with fluorescent powder, exposed to UV light to reveal the image, and placed in an electroplating bath, where electric currents carve grooves just a few microns deep. The result: electroplated steel plates that are 20 times more durable than the original, able to endure tens of thousands of printing cycles under tons of pressure. Each plate perfectly identical and ready for the currency printing line. Once the steel plates are ready, another production line simultaneously kicks off. Offset printing to create the first background layer of the bill. This initial layer forms the colored background, including watermarked patterns, light color overlays, and decorative borders. At this stage, high-speed printing machines print both sides of the paper simultaneously using special inks. The ink is transferred from the printing cylinder to an intermediate rubber layer, then pressed onto the paper fibers, ensuring even adhesion and sharp, precise details. This technique is applied only to denominations $2 and above. The $1 bill skips this step entirely, which is why it feels different to the touch. The personnel working in the currency printing facility are among the most rigorously vetted in the U.S. Spotless backgrounds, pass lie detector tests, and possess ultra-fine precision skills. All activities are monitored 24/7, and AI is allowed only to assist, never replace human operators. After the background layer is fully dried, the sheets are stacked and sent to the intaglio printing stage. Using the hand-engraved steel plates replicated through serography, each plate is mounted onto an intaglio press, applying 20 to 40 tons of pressure, enough to crush an iPhone. Under this immense force, ink is pushed out of the steel grooves and onto the cotton linen surface, forming the raised texture and the distinctive, real money scent that every counterfeit note fails to replicate. And once the intaglio printing is complete, the bill moves on to a completely different layer of security. OVI color shifting ink, a technology guarded like a military secret. OVI ink appears only on denominations $10 and above, yet it is one of the most visually recognizable security features. Tilt the bill slightly, and the number 100 shifts from a copper hue to green right before your eyes. This effect comes from a multi-layer structure containing ultra-fine metallic crystals that act like nano-mirrors, reflecting light at precise angles. The technology is so tightly controlled that only a handful of countries and suppliers, primarily SICPA of Switzerland, are authorized to produce it. Even central banks are never allowed to possess the raw ink. They receive only the exact amount required for each print run, and that ink has never existed on any black market. Once the OVI layer has sealed the surface with its signature color-shifting effect, the process still isn't over. The bill moves on to an even more intricate layer of security, one so small that it's nearly invisible to the naked eye: microprinting. Microprinting is the art of hiding text in the most sophisticated way on a US dollar. On the $100 bill, you'll find the phrase, "The United States of America," delicately engraved into Benjamin Franklin's collar, while the tiny USA rests just beneath his portrait. So small, you'll need a magnifying glass to see it clearly. If you're holding a $100 bill, try checking it now and see how sharp your eyes really are. These miniature characters are printed with specialized inks and micron-level engraving plates. To the average person, they look like decorative patterns, but to experts in currency inspection machines, they are the first, fastest, and hardest to fake line of defense against counterfeits. Once the microprinting layer has finished its role as the subtle gatekeeper, the bill moves on to its final stage, the part that is, ironically, the easiest to counterfeit: printing the serial numbers and treasury seals. In this step, a specialized printing system stamps each bill with 2 unique serial number sequences, giving every note its own identity. At the same time, 2 important seals are printed on top: the U.S. Treasury seal and the Federal Reserve seal. This is also one of the few elements that criminals can attempt to mimic, since serial numbers use flat ink without raised textures or complex security structures. Passing off a fake is one thing, but getting through quality control is a completely different battle. Right after the identity layer is printed, each bill enters one of the strictest inspection systems in the entire process. Ultra-high-resolution optical sensors scan every millimeter, catching anything from color shifts and ink bleeding to a single misprinted serial digit. Raised ink, color-shifting OVI, and microprinting are analyzed in mere milliseconds. Even the tiniest deviation sends the bill straight to recycling. Finally, a manual inspection team randomly checks bundles to ensure no subtle flaw slips through. Only the bills that pass this brutally strict inspection phase earn the right to move on to the final stage: cutting and packaging. Each sheet of currency is printed in large formats, with 32 complete $100 bills on a single sheet. After inspection, they're fed into an ultra-precise cutting system that slices them into individual notes with exact dimensions of 6.14, 2.61 inches. The blades are so sharp that even a deviation of a few microns can disqualify an entire batch. The finished bills are then stacked into bundles of 100, pressed flat and grouped into bricks of 1,000. Every brick is tagged with its batch code, production date, and traceability data, all instantly digitized for auditing and storage. After packaging, the newly printed bills are moved into an ultra-secure vault, accessible only to a tiny group of authorized personnel, with every action logged through biometric authentication and a 24/7 camera system. From there, the money is distributed to the 12 Federal Reserve banks based on regional demand, or cycled back for verification and destruction when worn out. This issuance loop isn't just a technical process. It's the mechanism that guards the nation's financial power, where each bill carries the law, the trust, and the history of the United States. It costs about 4.1 cents to produce a single $1 bill, so guess who ends up paying for the printing? Every day, millions of bottles of perfume are consumed across the globe, serving as an invisible weapon that helps people feel more confident and attractive. Few realize that this beauty ritual traces back to ancient Egypt, where perfume was used to embalm pharaohs and connect with the gods. Over 55 billion USD, that is the staggering value the fragrance industry generates each year. The 17th century marked a turning point when distillation techniques were perfected, transforming glamorous France into the cradle of modern perfumery. Today, despite the rise of hundreds of brands, France still reigns supreme in both production and export, with legendary pillars like Chanel, Dior, and Guerlain. When speaking of French perfumes, sophistication, classic elegance, and luxury remain their timeless declaration. Meanwhile, fashionable Italy has made its mark with bold creativity and individuality through Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, and Acqua di Parma. What's fascinating is that the very same bottle of perfume smells different on each person as it interacts with their skin's pH, body chemistry, and even lifestyle, creating an invisible signature that carries a deeply personal imprint. And to create this magic, every bottle of perfume is born from dozens, sometimes even hundreds of ingredients, with floral essences at its very heart. Now, let us begin the journey at the very first stop, lavender essential oil, the pillar of perfumery, where endless purple fields have nurtured the soul of countless eternal fragrances. Summer in Europe is the season of lavender. From the fields of Provence in France to the plains of Bulgaria, a sea of purple stretches endlessly, and when 70% of the blossoms are in full bloom, it marks the golden moment, the peak of essential oil content, ready for harvest. For farmers, harvesting lavender is not merely agricultural work, but an art passed down through generations with its own secrets and unwritten rules. The timing of the harvest determines more than 70% of the season's success in producing premium quality essential oil. Each day of delay causes the oil content in each purple blossom to drop noticeably. On the other hand, if harvested too early, the fragrance compounds have not yet fully accumulated their richness for distillation. Today, with the advancement of technology, manual harvesting has gradually given way to modern reaping machines. Across endless purple fields, specialized harvesters put on an impressive display of technology, gliding gently like ships cutting through waves in a sea of flowers. At the front is a system of sharp rotating blades, aligned parallel to the ground, cutting each lavender bush close to the root without crushing the petals. Immediately after, a A synchronized serrated conveyor system sweeps the freshly cut lavender stems straight into the rear storage compartment, minimizing loss and preserving the quality of raw material before distillation. With just one run, a single machine can replace the labor of 20 to 30 farmers, boosting productivity up to tenfold compared to manual methods. Beyond saving time and effort, mechanization also ensures the flowers remain fresh and intact, preserving the maximum concentration of their precious essential oils. Immediately after harvesting, lavender must be transported to the factory within 24 hours to maintain freshness and minimize the loss of essential oil. With an annual yield of tens of thousands of tons, lavender has become a key supply source for the fragrance industry, accounting for up to 40% of the natural essential oils used in the production of perfumes and cosmetics. At the start of essential oil production, tons of lavender, lightly dried to 10 to 15% moisture, are poured into giant steam distillation vats. Here, the flowers are packed firmly enough for steam to permeate evenly through the entire mass. As hot steam is injected, essential oil molecules evaporate and rise along with the vapor. This mixture then passes through a cooling condenser system, where it transforms back into liquid form. Thanks to the difference in density, the essential oil floats to the surface and is separated in a Florentine flask. The water below, known as lavender hydrosol, still retains a gentle fragrance and is often used in cosmetics or room sprays. Finally, the essential oil is purified, bottled in dark glass containers or stainless steel drums, and stored at a stable temperature of 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. From there, the pale golden drops with their rich aroma are born, liquid gold that forms the foundation for countless iconic perfume formulas around the world. Yet, in the vast and diverse world of perfumery, lavender is not the only essential oil to be revered. At the higher end of the spectrum, rose and jasmine are celebrated as the true treasures of the fragrance industry. These two luxurious oils feature in nearly all legendary perfumes, from Chanel No. 5 and Dior J'adore to Guerlain Shalimar. And the journey to create them is no less elaborate than the making of a masterpiece. In Bulgaria, known as the Valley of Roses of the world, the harvest season for damask roses is fleeting, lasting only from late May to early June. The golden hour for picking is at dawn, when the pebbles have just begun to bloom and the essential oil concentration is at its peak. In the morning mist, farmers gently cradle each delicate bud, hand-picking them to preserve their fragile fragrance before quickly placing them into wicker baskets to avoid bruising, then transporting them straight to the distillery. Much like roses, jasmine, delicate and fragile, can only be harvested entirely by hand. In India and Egypt, the two countries that together account for 90% of the world's jasmine essential oil, the harvest is carried out like a traditional ritual. Farmers carefully pluck each blossom by hand, taking care not to bruise the petals. To preserve the highest concentration of essential oil, the flowers must be picked at night, around 2 to 3 a.m., when darkness still cloaks the fields, but the blossoms are at their fullest bloom, releasing their sweetest and most enchanting fragrance. Immediately after harvesting, the jasmine is placed into airy wicker baskets and swiftly loaded onto carts for transport to the processing facility. There, the flowers are spread out on a clean floor, evenly raked for preliminary sorting and preparation before extraction begins. Speed is critical, for even a delay of a few hours can cause the petals to wilt and their precious fragrance to fade away. Unlike lavender, which can be distilled directly with steam, more delicate flowers, such as roses and jasmine, require a more refined method: extraction with organic solvents, most commonly hexane. In this process, freshly harvested flowers are placed into multi-layered extraction vats. Hexane permeates through the petals, dissolving the aromatic molecules to produce a thick, waxy substance known as concrete. The concrete is then washed with pure alcohol to remove waxes and impurities, leaving behind the absolute oil, called rose absolute or jasmine absolute, depending on the flower. To obtain just 1 kilogram of this oil, it takes millions of blossoms, making it one of the most precious treasures, sought after for centuries by legendary perfume houses such as Chanel, Dior, and Guerlain. And once the absolutes are ready, the most awaited moment begins: stepping into the perfume ateliers, where the unique art of fragrance creation is finally revealed. From every corner of the world, barrels of fragrant lavender oil from Provence, regal damask rose from Bulgaria, and sweet white jasmine from India arrive at the perfume atelier. These are the very vowels of the fragrance symphony about to be composed. Each drop undergoes rigorous testing to ensure purity, concentration, and lasting power before entering the blending stage, the very heart of the art of perfumery. And now, our journey into the world of perfume production reaches its most important and anticipated stage: blending, the place where pure essential oils are combined to create timeless symphonies of fragrance. This is the domain of the nez, or golden noses, masters of scent, with the ability to distinguish and memorize thousands of aromas. In the laboratory, they work like true olfactory engineers, measuring every drop of essential oil, synthetic aroma, fixative, and solvent according to meticulously calculated formulas. Perfume is a three-tiered symphony: the fleeting top notes, the expressive and distinctive heart notes, and the deep, long-lasting bass notes. Yet even the slightest imbalance can disrupt the harmony of the entire composition. To become a true golden nose, one must undergo 5 to 10 years of intensive training at prestigious perfume academies, such as ISIPCA in France, before being entrusted with their own formula. With this rare expertise, the salary of a skilled perfumer can range from $60,000 to over $150,000 USD per year. And for the top masters working at luxury houses, the figure can be many times higher. But pure essences alone are not enough to become perfume. To diffuse and linger, they must be diluted. The answer lies in the combination with pure alcohol and distilled water, where the drops of fragrance are softened, shaped into their own character, and brought to a perfect balance between intensity and longevity. At this point, you might think the perfume is ready for the market. Not yet. Just like wine needs time to mature, perfume too must undergo an aging process in massive steel vats, sometimes just a few weeks, but often stretching from 1 to 3 years. Here, time itself is the silent artisan, allowing the layers of fragrance to meld together, transforming the liquid blend into an immortal masterpiece. When the aging process is complete, the solution is cold filtered to remove residues, becoming pure and crystal clear. Finally, the fragrant elixir is bottled with absolute precision, each drop measured to perfection. Caps are sealed, labels applied by hand, and flacons embraced in luxurious boxes. Thus, from fields of purple, white, and red blossoms, Through the hands of artisans and the mastery of advanced machinery, these essential oils are reborn as magnificent perfumes, timeless symbols of power, allure, and the art of living. Among more than 800 species of oysters, only a select few have the ability to produce high-quality pearls. Yet even among them, only 1 in 10,000 can yield a truly flawless gem. This rarity explains why natural pearls are so luxurious and sought after by the elite. Today, the most valuable pearl in history is La Peregrina, a more than 500-year-old treasure once belonging to the Spanish royal family and later owned by Hollywood icon Elizabeth Taylor. This legendary pearl fetched a record-breaking auction price of $11.8 million. If time is what sculpts the perfection of natural pearls, then for cultured pearls, their refinement comes from modern techniques and the skilled hands of artisans. Pearls are classified into 4 main types. Akoya pearls from Japan are known for their perfect round shape and soft hues of white, pink, and silver. Tahitian pearls from Polynesia exude a mysterious beauty with dark tones accented by shades of green, purple, or silver. South Sea pearls, often referred to as the Queen of Pearls, stand out for their large size and exquisite golden hue. Lastly, there are freshwater pearls, which are widely cultivated. Among these, South Sea pearls hold the highest value, 10 times that of Akoya and 4 times that of Tahitian pearls. And now, let's explore how these tiers of the ocean are created, from the skilled hands of pearl cultivators to the deep-sea farms where nature continues to refine their breathtaking beauty. Although humans can cultivate pearls, this process is far from easy. Before beginning their journey beneath the sea, the first step is to create the nucleus for implantation into the pearl oysters. Only the thickest and sturdiest oyster shells are selected, cleaned, and cut into small pieces before being shaped into flawless spheres using high-precision lathes. This process demands extreme accuracy, down to the micrometer, because only perfectly round nuclei can produce beautiful pearls. Once shaped, the nuclei undergo rigorous testing for size, roundness, hardness, and surface smoothness. Those that meet the strict standards are then thoroughly sterilized before being packaged and shipped to pearl farms across the world. But to create a perfect pearl, a flawless nucleus alone isn't enough. It also requires soft tissue from a healthy donor oyster and a bit of biological magic. A tiny piece of mantle tissue, just a few millimeters, is carefully cut from the donor oyster. This small but vital piece acts as a biological catalyst, stimulating the pearl oyster to secrete layers of nacre around the nucleus, forming the pearl. Without this soft tissue graft, the oyster might reject the nucleus as a foreign object and expel it rather than coating it. And so with this essential combination, the process moves into its most crucial phase, implantation. Before implantation, the tissue fragment is cultured in a nutrient solution containing minerals, amino acids, and growth factors to ensure the cells remain healthy and viable before being inserted into the host oyster. With a steady hand, the pearl technician gently pries open the oyster's hard shell using specialized tools, ensuring the delicate inner tissue remains unharmed. Next, a small piece of soft tissue from the donor oyster, along with the carefully prepared nucleus, is inserted into a biological pocket within the host oyster. Now is the time to unveil the mystery of how precious pearls are formed. Once grafted, the pearl oysters are returned to the ocean, where they continue to live in a carefully controlled environment. Sensing a foreign object inside, The oyster reacts instinctively. Since it cannot expel the irritant, it secretes nacre, a natural compound made of calcium carbonate and organic substances, to encase it, reducing irritation. Over months and years, layer upon layer of nacre accumulates, sometimes in the thousands or even millions, creating the pearl's smooth, lustrous surface. The longer the oysters remain underwater, the larger and more valuable the pearls will be. And you see, not every hardship that happens is negative. Pearls are proof of how nature transforms irritation into beauty. Just like a grain of sand in an oyster becomes a pearl, or coal under pressure turns into a diamond. After 1 to 3 years of patient waiting, when the pearl has reached its perfect maturity, it is finally time for humans to bring these treasures of the ocean to the surface. When the cool autumn breeze gently taps on the still waters, it marks the busiest time of the year for pearl farmers as they dive into the harvest season. Before diving into the process of harvesting saltwater pearls, let's first look at freshwater pearl farms in China, where the quick and straightforward harvesting process prioritizes speed and yield over careful selection and refinement, making China the producer of 80% of the world's freshwater pearls. Once harvested from the ponds, the oysters are gathered at centralized processing facilities. All the oysters are opened simultaneously, with no prior sorting. Workers use specialized knives to open the oysters and extract pearls quickly and manually. The process involves simply scraping the tissue inside to retrieve several pearls at once. On average, each worker can process between 100 and 300 oysters per hour, and in large-scale facilities, this number can rise to 500 to 600. Though freshwater pearls command high prices in the market, farm workers typically earn between 200 to 400 USD per month, a mere 1/10 to 1/100 of the value of premium sea pearls. After extraction, the pearls are placed in large baskets and rinsed in water to remove impurities. Given the vast quantity of freshwater pearls, they are often washed in bulk either by machine or using simple manual methods. Each freshwater oyster can produce 10 to 30 pearls, while sea oysters can only produce 1 pearl over many years. This results in the mass production of freshwater pearls, which is highly efficient, low cost, and abundant in contrast to the more painstaking sea pearl harvest. So when it comes to the pearl industry, what truly defines economic value? High-end quality or large-scale production? In stark contrast to the freshwater pearl harvesting process, harvesting sea pearls involves a meticulous and detailed procedure, demanding high skill and patience from the divers. Beneath the deep blue waters, divers quietly descend into the depths and gradually pull up cages filled with oysters. Each cage is heavy with hundreds of oysters, small creatures lying still within their rough shells, hiding the precious pearls inside. This work requires great finesse and skill, as even a small mistake could damage the pearls. But the journey of the pearl is not over yet. The oysters are brought back to the processing workshops, where each one is carefully cleaned. The outer shell is scraped to remove barnacles and other marine organisms, revealing the rough, textured surface, ready for the next critical inspection step. Next, the oysters are passed through X-ray machines to determine which ones contain pearls. Only oysters showing signs of having pearls inside are opened to avoid waste. Before being placed on the harvesting table, the oysters are stimulated to open their shells, making the extraction process smoother. They are placed in special baskets and exposed to a controlled temperature seawater solution, allowing the shells to gradually open. Once the oysters begin to open, a small, delicate rod is inserted to keep the oyster from closing before it is moved to the harvesting table. After the carefully selected oysters are ready, the real magic begins. Extracting the pearls is not just a technical process. It is also an art that requires precision and absolute accuracy. First, the oysters are secured on a specialized stand that holds them firmly but allows enough flexibility for handling. A tool is inserted between the two halves of the shell to create a small gap, just enough to access the interior without damaging the shell structure. Once the oyster is open, a thin, rounded scraper is used to separate the tissue and extract the pearl. The pearl offers no resistance as she is gently extracted from the pearl sac, naked and defenseless, inviting man's gaze to observe her, judge her, measure her, and finally classify her by her diameter, her color, her shape, and the delicate perfection or imperfection of her surface. Behind the dazzling beauty of each pearl lies a harsh reality. Most mother oysters are sacrificed in the process of producing a perfect pearl. A small number of healthy oysters can be reimplanted to produce new pearls, up to 2 or 3 times in their lifetime. However, the highest quality pearls are typically formed during the first graft, as the initial layers of nacre are always the smoothest and most uniform. Even when no longer able to produce pearls, mother oysters continue to give. Their shells are crafted into nuclei for new pearls, while their meat becomes a nutritious delicacy, a humble yet complete offering. After being harvested, pearls do not immediately become jewelry. They must first undergo a meticulous crafting process. Master artisans begin by assessing each pearl to determine the most suitable form of craftsmanship. Some naturally beautiful pearls require only a simple drill hole to be strung into necklaces, while others may be polished or combined with gold, silver, and diamonds to create luxurious pieces of jewelry. Pearls that do not meet the standard in shape or luster are often repurposed into pearl powder. Since freshwater pearls are produced in large quantities and have a lower market value, most pearl powder available today is derived from them. The production of pearl powder involves grinding the pearls into an ultra-fine powder while preserving their valuable minerals, such as calcium, proteins, and amino acids. Since ancient times, pearls have been revered as treasures of the sea, often referred to as tears of the gods or frozen moonlight that has fallen into the depths of the ocean. In Western culture, pearls have long been cherished as heirlooms, traditionally passed from mothers to daughters as symbols of purity, good fortune, and timeless elegance. Meanwhile, in Eastern traditions, pearls are regarded as emblems of prosperity and longevity, often representing harmony and strong family bonds. From a symbol of royal power to an object of prestige and sophistication, pearls are not only masterpieces of nature, but also enduring testaments to eternal beauty, resilience, and the timeless values that nature bestows upon humanity. The traditional method is still preserved today, but as global demand continues to rise, producers have had to adopt modern production lines, both to reduce manual labor and to maximize output. That's why our journey now takes us to large-scale tequila distilleries, where hundreds of millions of bottles are produced each year to supply markets across the world. Unlike the artisanal process, in modern facilities, the agave hearts are simply split in half before cooking. This task is still done manually. Workers wield large axes or machetes to cut through the tough cores, allowing the piñas, each weighing tens of kilograms, to steam more evenly in industrial ovens. Every decisive strike not only paves the way for mechanized processing, but also preserves the human touch, a lasting mark in the journey of creating tequila. Right after being chopped, the piña pieces are placed onto steel conveyors and carried into massive steam chambers. Inside, steam is pumped in at a pressure of around 1-2 bar, maintaining heat for many consecutive hours. This method allows the starches within the agave core to convert into natural sugars much faster than in traditional brick ovens. However, the trade-off is a cleaner but lighter flavor, lacking the distinctive smoky caramel notes once imparted by fire and volcanic stone. After cooking, the piñas are crushed to extract the aguamiel. In this stage, mechanical milling systems equipped with continuously rotating steel rollers both press and spray spring water over the fibers to fully extract the remaining sugars and aromas from the agave pulp. This method achieves up to 98% sugar extraction efficiency, making it ideal for large-scale industrial production. However, it also removes much of the natural oils and fibers. For that reason, many modern producers still preserve part of the tahona process alongside, to retain the depth of flavor and the artisanal character that define traditional tequila. At the fermentation stage, both the juice and the remaining fibers are poured into large steel tanks. The crushing process takes about 2 hours to extract all the liquid. From there, the resulting mixture is piped into huge wooden vats, where yeast is added, allowing the sugars to begin their transformation into alcohol. The yeast multiplies rapidly, consuming all available sugars and producing alcohol along with CO2. Within about 30 hours, most of the sugar has been converted into alcohol, and after 72 hours of fermentation, the mixture develops a slightly sour taste and fills the air with a rich, distinctive aroma. Immediately after fermentation, the liquid is transferred into distillation stills to separate the alcohol and remove impurities. The first distillation produces a crude spirit called ordinario, with an alcohol content of about 20 to 25%. It is then distilled a second time to refine and raise the strength to between 38% and 55%. Traditional copper stills lend warmth, complexity, and a classic aroma to the tequila, while stainless steel stills in industrial production ensure precise control and higher efficiency. This is the pivotal stage where the spirit's strength and layers of flavor are defined. Afterward, the tequila is transported by tanker trucks to aging warehouses. There, in vast cellars, more than 9,000 American white oak barrels are kept under a fine misting system to maintain humidity and prevent evaporation. The finest tequilas are aged for up to 5 years, absorbing the essence of the wood and developing a superb depth of flavor. For more complex varieties, the tequila is aged for at least 2 months or longer, depending on its quality. During this maturation, it draws in the wood's character, acquiring its signature amber color and rich, rounded taste. And after all those transformations, the final spirit is ready for bottling. But first, it must pass a meticulous quality check through tasting. Once approved, the tequila is sent to the bottling line, where each bottle is placed upside down on a conveyor and rinsed with tequila itself to eliminate any trace of impurities. After one last quality inspection, every bottle is individually numbered, allowing it to be traced back to the exact distillery where it was made. Each year, this facility ships out up to 420,000 barrels of tequila, distributed to markets across the globe.